Hey everybody, how you doing? This is about to be a really fun video. In this video, we are talking about 6.8 Western. If you never heard of it, where you been? But yeah, let me just show you one here real quick. 6.8 Western. If you're not real familiar or never had one in your hand, that is what a 6.8 Western looks like. Without knowing any better, you might think that was a 300 short mag or a 7 short mag, but this is a 6.8 Western. Long story short, this thing came out in 2001 from Winchester. There's also loading and Browning. Winchester Browning is the same company. And it was marketed as a long range / hunting round. So all the marketing that I've seen on this thing pretty much alluded to the fact that, hey, 6.8 Western, long-range hunting round. Now, around these parts where I live, we don't have mule deer, we don't have elk. All we have big game-wise is white-tailed deer. So, and a lot of our hunting this way in the southeast, if you want to call it that, we're in the woods. Most of the deer that I take are 30 yards and in. So really, I don't really have a reason for this. But a bunch of you guys out west have told me that you picked it up and you love it. And you have a Browning or a Winchester and you're chasing critters with it, or you're having fun with it at the range doing long range stuff. But here is the factory ammo that I've got. I've spent a fortune on factory ammo in 6.8 Western, probably about $1,000. I had a Winchester XPR. Winchester actually sent me an XPR to borrow, and that thing was pretty much a lemon. I couldn't get it to group any of this stuff. I like to pick up a Browning. Brownings are a lot more expensive. Maybe I can borrow one of those and do some more videos. But I spent a bunch of money on factory ammo. There's 4 loadings that I'm aware of. This is the AccuBond Long Range 165 grain. BC is .620 on the G1 scale. This is the Match. It's 170 grain. Match has a BC of .633, pretty high. And then there's the Copper, 162 grain, BC of 564, .564 G1 scale. Then there is the Browning, 175 grain. It even says it on the box here, Long Range Pro Hunter. So it's marketed as a long range hunting round. There's a picture of an elk on the box. Okay, so the purpose of this video is to say, this came out in 2021. Is it still relevant? So what I'm going to do very quickly here is compare these 4 factory loadings from Winchester Ammunition and the one from Browning, which same company. And we're going to compare them to some very common cartridges that could be compared to it. So right off the bat, let me pull up my sheet here. We're going to compare it to some of the new stuff, which is the PRCs that followed after this. But we're going to compare it to 270 Winchester, 6.5 Creedmoor, 300 PRC, 300 Win Mag, 7mm mag, 7mm PRC, and the 6.5 PRC. From a drop perspective, all the way out to 1,000 yards. I know we could sling them past 1,000, but nobody's hunting past 1,000 yards, and I would argue that nobody should be hunting past 1,000 yards. And then we're also going to look at the energy in 100-yard increments out to 1,000 yards. And we can say after this video, is the 6.8 Western relevant, and what is it better than, and what is it not better than, from a bullet drop perspective and from an energy perspective. So I'm going to get right into this. You guys can pause or screenshot this if you really want to deep dive. I don't want this to be an hour-long video. I'm just going to show you the facts, and we're going to get on. So I put all 4 of these factory loadings in these charts, and then just to keep everything the same, all others from the 6.8 Western I'm comparing to the ELDX factory loading. So let's just jump right into it. Everything's zeroed at 100 if we were to take a 200-yard pop. So how much are all of these dropping at 200 yards? Also, you can see the muzzle velocity and the BCs are in there. So everything's color-coded on here. The brightest green is the winner for that column, and red is the loser. Yellow is kind of in the middle. So right off the bat, at 200 yards, the 7mm PRC drops the least. Now we're talking about long range stuff here. Let's just go ahead and drop out to 400 yards. 400 yards that's approaching the limits of a lot of people's. Wow, I probably wouldn't take an elk or a deer that far, but you guys out west, oh yeah, 400 yards, well, we take a deer and elk all the time, not a problem. Okay, so 400 yards. What is bright green? Well, remember this chart we're talking about drop. How many inches of drop at 400 yards? The 7mm PRC ELDX, that bright green, second from the bottom, is the winner. At 400 yards, it's only dropping 22.8 inches. What is the loser? 6.5 Creedmoor is a bright red line. In this comparison of these 11 different factory loadings, 6.5 Creedmoor is the worst. So, 400 yards, yeah. Now, which one of the 6.8 Westerns is the winner? Or the best, I guess you could say? It's the 165 grain AccuBond. At 400 yards, it looks like it comes in at around, I don't know, 4th or 5th place or something. So at 400 yards, from a drop perspective, 7 PRC beats it. No, I take that back. My colors were messing with my eyes. Am I colorblind? At 400 yards, the AccuBond is dropping 23.9. Looks like that is second place. Just between the 7 PRC and the 6.5 PRC. So 400 yards, the 6.8 Western in the AccuBond loading is the second best out of all these, even beating 300 PRC, 300 Win Mag, and 7mm mag. I'm looking at these. I just calculated all this, and I'm analyzing it live with you on this video. So that surprised me. The AccuBond that got second place is actually this one right here that I got out to show you what a 6.8 Western looks like. So out of all these, even the new fancy shiny PRCs, 6.8 Western in the AccuBond loading gets second place, beating all of these things. Pretty cool. And it looks like, real quick off of this chart, it looks like the ratings stay the same essentially across the board. At 1,000 yards, 7 PRC wins. It's the bright green. And then if I'm viewing this correctly, second place is still that 6.8 Western. I'm going to tell you straight up, I did not expect that. I'm sitting here analyzing it, like I said, live with you. I just got done putting all these numbers in here. So, is the 6.8 Western relevant from a drop perspective? It would appear so. It would appear that there is something to be said for the 6.8 Western in these factory loadings, especially when it comes to this AccuBond. Now the others, the heavier 175 grain, and then the copper, coming pretty close to last place. So, from a drop perspective, hey, the AccuBond would probably be a good choice if that's what you're wanting to do, is fling some bow lights at some extended ranges. Now, again, you can freeze that and study it, look at it, compare 7 mag versus 6.8, whatever you want to do. I'm not going to drag this video on too long. Now let's do that same discussion, but let's talk about energy. When we're talking about hunting, we need to know the energy. We need to know the drops and our dials, which really is drop super crucial. If you got the dials, you know, what's another foot if you're just dialing for it? My perspective, energy is more important when we're talking about hunting. So, Hunting. Same color code. Green is the best, red is the worst. So the worst in this comparison is that 6.5 Creedmoor. It's bright red across the board. Gets down to 1,000 foot-pounds of energy at 700 yards. Now let's just quickly look for the bright green. Okay, this is saying that the 300 PRC has the most energy. It looks like every single yardage. So muzzle energy almost 4,000. Woo! All the way out to 1,000 yards. That 300 PRC carries the most energy. Now here's where it's a little bit different than the drop chart. Second place comes in at, let me make sure I'm talking right. Looks like initially 300 Win Mag is in second place, and then 7mm PRC overtakes it. Just for the sake of discussion, let's focus in at 400 yards again. First place is the 300 PRC with 2549 foot-pounds of energy. Second place at 400 yards is 2371 on the 7 PRC. Third place is the 300 Win Mag. And then we're getting into kind of a big tie between a bunch of stuff. The 7 Mag and the AccuBond 6.8 Western and the 170 grain match 6.8 Western. So when it comes to energy at 400 yards, which is in most Western hunters' books acceptable ranges, even some people 500-600 yards, depends on where you're at and your experience and your rig and your scope and all this stuff. Lots of factors go into whether you should take those on animals at those distances. But when we're talking about energy, let's stay at the 400 yards. If that is what's driving your reason for a selection, 300 PRC is better than the 6.8 Western loadings. So is 300 Win Mag. So is 7mm PRC. And the 7mm mag is better than some 6.8 Western loadings, and it's worse than others. So from a drop perspective, and again, you guys can freeze these charts, screenshot it, all that. I don't want to make this an hour-long video. From these numbers, let me kind of, in conclusion on this video, is the 6.8 Western relevant? Well, first of all, from a drop perspective, it performs really well with these AccuBonds. The other loadings are kind of comparable to a lot of other things. Some of them are worse than some other things. From an energy perspective, based upon these numbers, there are other things that are better, specifically in the 30 cals, the PRC and the Win Mag. 7 PRC has more energy than all of these 6.8 Western loadings. So really, the 6.8 Western outperforms a lot of other things, but not specifically what we selected out of this list. Does it absolutely beat 270 Winchester? Yes. Does it absolutely beat 6.5 Creedmoor? Yes. Does it beat 6.5 PRC? Yes. Does it beat 300 PRC and the 7 PRC, the newer cartridges, even newer and fresh off the boat than this one? Depends. At the end of the day, don't get mad at me when I do these type of videos. People want to get mad and say, oh, you know, you're wrong. Hey, nobody's paying me to make this video. Whatever makes you happy, go for it. I know lots of you guys love the 6.5 Creedmoor. This entire video is poo-pooing on 6.5 Creedmoor compared to 10 other things. But if 6.5 Creedmoor floats your boat and you love catching deers with your 6.5 Creedmoor, go ahead and have at it. But I'm rambling now. But in conclusion, 6.8 Western, there definitely is something to it. I have never looked at the numbers as deep as I did today for this video. It does a pretty good job, especially in these AccuBonds. From a blue light drop perspective, pretty good, guys. And it does. I'm saying it's lower on the charts in energy, but in the grand scheme of things, it does have a lot of energy out at distance. Most of the factory loadings still have 1,000 foot-pounds of energy at 1,000 yards, which that's something. There's something to be said for that. 1,000 foot-pounds of energy at 1,000 yards. But hey, guys, I won't ramble on any longer. Put in the comments down below. What do you think about 6.8 Western? Do you like it? Have you tried one? And what's your favorite? If 6.8 Western isn't your favorite, comment down below. Let me know. But hey, appreciate you guys watching and coming along for this video. We'll see you guys on the next one. Hooty-hoo!